Testing, testing. Coming through nice and clear. Hey, love muffins. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you all so much for supporting and continuing to follow me along my healing journey. This is episode 2 of The Journey Continues, called Therapy Revelations, White Knight Syndrome. Okay, so if you missed episode 1, I broke down what this mini-series is going to be about. It's just following my healing journey. I'll be coming to give you all therapy revelations. These revelations are homework assignments or revelations that I discovered while in therapy while in my therapy session, and then any homework assignments or things that make sense or start to help me figure out or navigate, help me figure out why I do or have done or have operated a certain way for so long. And so not my most recent session, about 2 sessions ago. About 2 sessions ago, I had my bi-weekly therapy session, and I was going over what was going on, what had happened over the last 2 weeks, and just kind of make sense of what was going on in my head. I had a lot going on in my head. It was a lot. It was a pretty emotional, I can't even say yet. 2 sessions ago was about a month ago. Exactly this time a month ago, it was a lot going through my head. And so, the point of having a professional therapist is to be able to dump everything, dump everything on this individual. So therapy is not for everyone, and that I understand. However, if you've never tried it, I highly encourage you to at least try. Finding the right therapist is just as important as finding the correct primary care physician, the perfect dentist, the perfect nail technician. That person needs to fit you. So just because, even if you have your therapy session and you don't like that therapist, try another one. And I will say, I found my therapist was found for me through a counselor that I had at work. And so that counselor was very aware of me, personality-wise, what I was going through and what I needed assistance with as far as navigating through what I was going through and where I want to go. So she knew exactly what to look for. She sent me 3 different offices, and I tried one before I found the one that I have now. So it's just like trying on shoes, trying on clothes. You keep trying it until you find the one that fits, right? So that is my PSA, and I found mine. So, and homegirl plays no games. She plays no games with me, but I was very clear on what I wanted for myself, for my future, and I don't have time to waste. I'm very serious about it, and I need her to push me. And that was what I asked of her, and that is exactly what she's doing. She's pushing me down some areas of, down some paths that I really have been avoiding for quite some time, but I'm very grateful and I'm thankful, and I'm putting in the work. So without further ado, let's get into the homework assignment. The homework assignment was, boom, at maybe 25 minutes into my therapy session, she said, hey, she asked me a question. First of all, the first question was, well, why do you feel like that's your responsibility still, right? I kind of want to give y'all a background as to the conversation, but then I don't, because it really doesn't matter. That's not what we're here for. I didn't have an answer. I don't know. And she loves when I say I don't know. She loves it. I love when I say I don't know, because I never say I don't know. I always have the answer. At least people around me make me feel like I always got the answer, Sway, but I don't. I don't. And it's okay to not have the answers, because the whole point of living life is to be in a constant state of learning, right? Boom. So that is what triggered this homework assignment. And so we continue to have our conversation, and at the end of therapy sessions, we've made wonderful revelations, and then she, boom, hits me with homework assignments. My homework assignment was to research the definition of white knight syndrome. Now, before she told me to do this, she was very clear. Very clear. And when I say highlighted, she said, hey, I want you to know that there's a thing called white knight syndrome and white knight narcissist. I'm gonna pause for a second. Let y'all think, let that marinate in. She did tell me I am not a white knight narcissist. I'm suffering from white knight syndrome. Two different things. And I was like, I really appreciate that, because I probably would have freaked out. But it was nice to hear the difference. However, I did not do a deep dive into white knight narcissist, because that's not what I'm suffering from. Do I realize and know that I was dealing with a narcissist? Absolutely. Do I really care why that person? I don't. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with me, child. I could care less. So anyway, I did my homework. I did what she told me to do, and I took notes. Yeah, this is my book. Y'all gonna see this book quite often. This is my book. White knight syndrome. White knight syndrome is someone who feels compelled to rescue people in intimate relationships, oftentimes at the expense of their own needs. That is condensed. Doing my research, and I'm reading through, I'm getting flashbacks of different experiences I've had over the last 20 years, 20 to 25 years, probably a little further than that. But they're coming to me like as I'm reading. She also gave me 3 questions that I had to answer while doing my research. And I'm going to give you the 3 questions right now, but then I'm going to dive deep into each one later in the video. So question 1 was, why do I focus on fixing others and or others' issues? That's question 1. When did this trait begin? And then question 3, what am I running from internally? So if you feel like, based off the definition, that white knight syndrome might be something that you do, or that, you could really, be, doing, and I'll go into the 5 signs to help you identify a little bit more, because you may, but you're like, the definition is not really helping me, but there are 5 signs to help you identify with that. And so, like I said, as I'm doing my research, I find all of that out too, like all of the different signs, and reading through the different signs, it's just like, which ones do I identify with the most? And what, child, it was a very emotional trip down memory lane. Again, I told y'all in episode 1, this journey, this process is not for the weak-minded. If you're not ready to do this, you need to be ready, because it's going to take a lot of dedication. There's going to be some very heavy nights, some tough nights. There are going to be some, but I promise you, like, keep in mind, I have been in therapy for 6-7 years off and on. As a matter of fact, the year I got married and divorced is when I had my first therapy session ever, and that was in 2014. We're literally about to be in 2023. Ooh, child, I missed a whole year. Whoa. We're literally about to be in 2023, so it's been over 7 years. So it's been a long journey for me. And as I said, off and on, because you touch on one thing, it scares the hell out you and you stop. And that's okay. You don't even stop, you pause. It's a pause. And that's okay too. It's okay. Just don't quit. And I refuse to quit. So that's my love to y'all. Love y'all. Yeah. The 5 signs are, number 1, you base your self-worth on your ability to fix people. That's sign 1. Sign 2, you have a history of unhealed abandonment wounds. That's 2. 3, you gravitate to those who are overly needy and dramatic, often idolizing them. Number 4, you attempt to control and micromanage your partner's life in an attempt to help them. And it has quotes by it. And then number 5, in response to emotional distance, you seek to manipulate or ensnare your partner back into the dance of dependency. Now, these 5 signs I got from one.com. It's called thoughtcatalog.com. I'll drop the link in the description below. But yeah, so as I was doing my research, I went through and identified the ones that I identify with, that I know for sure these are things that I do, that I've done, right? Because I don't currently still do it. Well, I'm very cautious and, very aware if I'm doing it. So as I'm doing my research, I'm identifying which signs I relate to, also hoping to find the answers to the 3 questions my therapist told me that I really need to focus on figuring out. So number 1, why do I focus on fixing others and or others' issues? This is where I identify with sign number 1. I base my self-worth on my ability to fix people. And I've done that for decades. So I based my self-worth on being needed. I put a lot of my value on being needed, being a fixer, being dependable, being reliable. That's where all of my value lied in my mind. And she said, once I figure out that answer, it will directly connect to when did this start? Because I need to know that, because there was something that triggered me to remove all of the other characteristics about myself and focus in on this one thing. And it took me, my sessions are bi-weekly, so it took me about a week and a half to really figure out when did I start to devalue my self-worth. And it was in my early teens when I felt like, I'm not going to say I felt like there was, for me, a traumatic moment that happened in my life between the age of 13 and 14 that really set the tone for how I showed up moving forward. And it was disheartening to remember and accept it. But it also helped me understand why I did some of the dumb stuff I did throughout my entire life. So yeah, no, I was not, I've never been, physically touched or anything like that. And in your early teens, not being believed or fully supported or protected, really being put in a position where you feel like it's animosity and tension, especially between a child and a parent, because your child, you are the end all be all for who, how they feel about themselves, how they view themselves. So that's why it's very important to maintain that connection. Love your child the way they need to be loved, and not love them the way you were loved or raised. You love them the way they need to be loved. Parenting tip at a 13-year-old, learning that as well. So, but I'm learning that now because I know how I now realize how it affected me at that stage in my life. And fast forward to now being a parent of an early teen, I understand the value of valuing who he is right now. So all of it ties in, y'all. All of this ties in so much. It's so crazy because it's really it's been a full circle moment for me. But anywho, boom. So then that rolls into the next question, right? What am I running from internally, right? So for 20 plus years, my value has been, in my mind, my self-worth, my value is people come to me because they can rely on me. You know what I mean? They come to me, they depend on me. I'm the fixer, I'm the protector, I'm the provider, I'm this, I'm that, I'm strong, I'm this. Until you get to a point where you're tired. And then at some point you start to resent some of these people, because it's like, I'm all of this for you, but you're not this for me, and it builds resentment. What I was running from internally, I identified, and I actually identified what I was running from internally in my follow-up session with my therapist, because I couldn't figure it out on my own. I had my notes and I wrote it down, and she helped me kind of navigate through figuring it out. And so I've come to the conclusion, and I'm still, identifying some other areas of what I've been running from, but that's the whole goal. And so what I identified as me, what I know I was running from was identifying or learning and bringing light to the other traits, characteristics in me that I had suppressed, or being vulnerable, being goofy, being soft, being girly, being emotional, being affectionate. These are all different characteristics that are really the core of who I am. I've just operated in a strong, masculine, protective version of myself so long because there was so much value in being that person. So I thought, because the last 2 years maybe, operating from a softer side, a romantic side, a understanding side, a quiet side, a loving side, fun, happier side, the effects in 2 years significantly impactful, way more impactful than operating in my masculinity. And it only took 2 years to dismantle 30 plus years of programming. So, child, the value of therapy. So the other two signs, because I do not feel like I identified with all 5 signs. I do feel like I identified with 3 for sure. One was very, based in my self-worth. That is how I showed up across the board in platonic relationships and romantic relationships and at work. In my career, as a sister, a daughter, mom, I've showed up as that person. I have the ability to fix everything. And if I don't, then I panic. Or I really do give a whole lot of my time and energy in trying to fix people and their issues. And so now I learn to be empathetic when necessary, sympathetic when necessary, because they are different. I show up as what that person needs me to be at that time, which is either a listening ear or to give an opinion. And my therapist has taught me, being in therapy has taught me to, once the conversation is over, my obligation has been fulfilled. It's not something that I carry with me. It's not my responsibility to fix or have a resolution, come up with a resolution for someone else and their problems. That's not my job, and it's okay. If someone calls me to be a listening ear and I show up as that listening ear, I have done my part. They felt my value came from being quiet and listening, creating an atmosphere for them to feel vulnerable, for them to feel safe, to say what they need to say, to not feel judged, being that person. I do it well, and it helps me. That constant reminder helps me that when I go to bed at night, someone else's issues are not my issues. If it's something that is still heavy on me, I pray about it. I write it down in my prayer journal. I pray for my friends, co-workers, siblings, parents, and I roll it over to a higher being, because that's not my job. It's not my role, and that's okay. The other sign that I identified with was you attempt to control and micromanage your partner's life in an attempt to help them. Now, as I've talked to y'all before in other videos, I have been in a relationship my entire adult life. So a lot of who I am, I show up as a girlfriend, a fiance, an ex-wife. I show up as that person because that's been a role that I have maintained my entire adult life. And that is something that I do, that I did, because I'm not in a relationship, so I don't do it. Something that I did a lot. And I don't want this to come off as if I'm bragging or proud of, my behavior, but I was good at this. I was good at micromanaging and really looping it under the umbrella of, I'm trying to help you. Baby, it really did, I was like, oh my God, this is really bad. And reading this, number 5 was the most recent sign that I had operated out of. And because I did the research, when I started, I instantly told myself, it clicked, shut it down. Identify a boundary, even if that person needs you to be this right now. We're not operating in that space anymore. Shut it down, set a boundary, set the tone. They'll either follow or stop reaching out to you, period. I did. Number 5, let me give it to y'all one more time. In response to emotional distance You seek to manipulate or ensnare your partner back into the dance of dependency. I told y'all about a month ago, exactly this time, something triggered an emotional trigger of distance and desire and need to be everything that I used to be to my ex. And it took me about 3 days to snap out of that real fast. Because no. And so that connects me back to episode 1 when I told y'all feelings are temporary. Feelings are temporary. I'm going to say it one more time. Feelings are temporary. Give yourself time, days in between making any decision, especially based off of emotions. Because I promise you, once you identify why you feel a certain way or what's triggering it, 9 times out of 10, you'll identify that this feeling is not real, it's temporary, and I am okay exactly where I am. Exactly where I am. So I was very thankful and very grateful that I had already done the research and I already identified and started operating in my boundaries personally. Because these are boundaries that I have to set inside of myself, because operating from operating from a stance of white knight syndrome, I'm doing this to myself. No one else is making me, no one else is telling me that I'm only worthy because I'm this. No one else is telling me that I need you to manipulate me into being needy or to need you or feeling helpless. Like, no, who in their right mind would say something like that? You know what I'm saying? So it's me. So the boundaries have to be still, they're internal boundaries that have to be set. Yes, I have to show up in those boundaries because there are white knight narcissists that play on the things that they knew about you, but they don't know you healed. They don't know you on your journey. They don't know that ass thing. I know you might think you need my help. You just need help. This not for me. Go ask somebody else. Because I don't have it. I don't have it. That's not my job. That's not my role. It's not. And I don't pride myself on being that person in your life anymore. And I promise you, once you remove yourself, or once you start setting your internal boundaries and then operating in your internal boundaries, the white knight narcissists will remove themselves. Because now you're not easily manipulated. Because there's nothing broken about you. You're no longer broken. You don't feel the need to do this anymore. I know my self-worth are in other areas. I know my value. And if you're still struggling with identifying that, the work that you put in, figuring it out, oh, it feels so good. It feels so good to figure it out. It really does. So this particular, although it was emotional for a while, for a couple of weeks, it was very fulfilling. It was very fulfilling. I love, most of the time I dread my homework assignments from my therapist, but I also enjoy the revelations that come with my therapy sessions. And so I really hope that this helps you all, especially if you feel like this is something that you identify with. Continue to do some more research and really, kind of take that trip down memory lane. Identify. If you don't know where to start or still not comfortable with getting a therapist, I'll drop my 3 questions. I'll add them in the description below, and you write them down. And hopefully that'll help jumpstart, your research and helping you identify, with why why you do certain things.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in to episode 2. I hope this video helps someone with their journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.